Okay, mic check. 1 2 1 2. We're gonna get a mic check going right now. Okay, mic check. 1 2 1 2. All right, perfect. We got the audio in. Perfect. Okay, now that we got the audio in, we're gonna get the title right in there. We're gonna get the description. By the way, I pre-wrote everything so I can just copy and paste it. You know, sort of get it ready. Ali says, you are crazy. Crazy? Why? What makes me crazy? Explain to me exactly what makes me crazy. Salam, brothers. Hello, everyone. Hate Love says, yeah, what makes me crazy? You know, Ali. Let me know what makes me crazy. Just out of nowhere, you come in here and you say, you're crazy. You guys got to give me more context. When you write, you know, something on here, you have to give me context, right? You got to give me something to work with here now. Okay, now you saying you are crazy is like, yeah, I don't know what to do with that because there's no context behind it, no before or after. So you're gonna have to, you know, kind of give me some context there, buddy. Okay, so yeah, let's get this party started right here. He says, I cannot fathom what you just did. What I just did. Okay. Well, once again, no context to what you're saying. No backstory. Just I can't fathom what you did. What is it that I did exactly? Okay. You're gonna have to explain to me exactly what it is that I did so that we can, you know, further elaborate on it. He says, no, I'm just joking. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Well, now that we got that cleared up, guys, welcome. We are going to preview today UFC London. Hate Love says, Ish, how is he crazy? He just started the stream. There you go. I think maybe because he's anticipating something crazy, perhaps. You know, that's the only thing that I can think of. Ish, fathom what? Are you under the influence? Haha. Ish, you troll. That's usually what it is, right? Look, as Muslim guys, this is not something you're going to catch us doing, right? If we're going to go on someone's page and say something disparaging, I mean, we're really going to mean it, especially me, right? You're never going to catch me say things, you know, out of under the influence or this and that. I've known plenty of people over the years that will say things just under the influence. And you know who does that the most? British people. Okay, British people do that the most, which, by the way, goes into the topic and subject matter at hand that we are going to talk about today, which is UFC London. Okay, so UFC London is taking place this Saturday on March 21st. By the way, on the weekend of Eid. Victory says, my man, how are you, my man? Just like that, you know, as soon as you got in, yeah, we got this thumbnail up, you know, with the background of London in the background. UFC returns to London March 21st, which, by the way, could potentially be Eid, okay? So this is the week of St. Patrick's Day and Eid. It doesn't get any more British than that, okay? Now, why do I say it doesn't get any more British than that? Well, for those that know anything about England, right, England, I mean, let's be honest about it. England is dang near a Muslim country. Am I right? Like, are they not a dang near a Muslim country if you really think about it? Ali says, excuse me, I am British. Okay, good. Well, you're going to love this fight card and you're going to love this preview first and foremost because obviously there's a lot of British theme behind it. And like I said, right, it doesn't get any more British than that. It's Eid and then it's St. Patrick's Day, right? Who would have thought that the British, that the Irish and the Muslims are going to be a heavily influential part of British society. Now, we know that the Irish are pretty much an influential part of American society, right? We mentioned how on St. Patrick's Day, right, they have these bagpipes, the same type of bagpipes, by the way, that they play on police funerals. Why is that? Well, because the police in America have a strong Irish representation. Also, there's a lot of Irishmen, Irish Americans that are firefighters as well. So, you know, it kind of goes into that same theme. And then, of course, as you know, the Muslims are very much heavily influential in the world of the UK right now, right? Whereas the U.S. is sort of not coming around to that idea. I know there's pockets of areas like Dearborn, Michigan, that's very Muslim. New York, they're sort of kind of getting um, used to it now, but then they're kind of showing a bit of a drawback with Mayor Mamdani, right? A lot of people were sort of making stick about Mayor Mamdani praying in the mayor's hall or something like that, right? Making a big fuss about it. Now, look, obviously, I'm not a big fan of Mayor Mamdani, right? Just because of differences of political opinions. By the end of the day, he can be a liberal cuck as much as he wants, but he's still a Muslim by the end of the day. So there's a certain level of respect that I have to show for that, but it doesn't necessarily mean I have to agree with his political views. Nonetheless, not to digress, but as far as England goes, they've always been a strong Muslim country in terms of its representation, right? Now more than ever, and that's kind of the reason why you're seeing a drawback behind it. Hate Love says St. Patrick's Day is green and Eid. A lot of people smoke green on Eid. Yeah, okay. And on St. Patrick's Day, it's perfect. Okay, so there you go, man. Hate Love says, please like and subscribe. It's free. Help Kyrie bring us daily new cases and very insightful content. Arctic says, England is not a Muslim country. What the F are you talking about? Woo, okay, so now somebody is, a little bit triggered there. He says, I'm back, you stinking bastard. Okay, well, don't do anything stupid. Don't say anything stupid because we'll ban you up out of here the minute you say something that we don't like or something that's just going to interfere with what we have going on. Because I assure you right now, what we're about to do is not a political stream, right? This is MMA centric, okay? If you want to come back when we do political streams, you're more than welcome to, but you will get banned if you do anything that is going to interfere with the mission that we have going on, which is exactly what? Our mission is to break down undefeated versus undefeated, Evloev versus Murphy. We're also here to talk about their story, right? We're not here to talk about my story or your story. We're not here to give you a platform or somehow, honor your freedom of speech. And here's another thing that I want to address with that before I go on any further, right? A lot of you have a real misconstrued idea of what freedom of speech is. You think that freedom of speech means that I should just allow you to come in here and say whatever it is that you want to say. Well, Arctic, you're saying that nobody cares my channel, but you care enough to comment. So if you don't care, then get the F out, okay? Because obviously there's a reason why you're in here, along with 8 or 10 other people, and the reason why you're in here is because the algorithm is triggering you to come in here and say whatever it is that you want to say, because let's be honest about it, you don't have a lot of Muslims in your life that you sort of engage with. So for whatever reason, you just go and, and you say one thing over the other because you want to, engage with a Muslim that you probably don't do in real life, or probably have some sort of rage that you have towards Muslims that you want to take out on me. And I completely understand it. If I was you and I'm looking from the outside, this is exactly what I would see. What I see is, you know what, here's a Muslim guy, okay, who is, strong, very prominent in the way that he speaks, very much articulate, very strong in the way that he expresses himself. So somehow there's a part of you that feels intimidated by that, and as a result, you feel the need to come in here and say something, voice your opinion so that you can feel better about yourself. Okay, he says, nobody is saying that, but you just literally said no one cares about my channel, but yet you come in here and you say that. The last stream that I did about 300 views, and then next thing you know, a few times I get 1,000 views, 300, 400 here and there. I mean, all right, you know what? For a small channel, that's pretty standard, and that's pretty much where I need to be. So for you to say that no one cares, apparently you do. For you to say, he says, geez, dude, aggro much? What is so aggro about me responding to someone? I think the problem with what a lot of you guys have is that you're not used to having, a strong Sigma alpha male type of figure that tells you like what it is, because you're used to over talking people. You're used to talking to people that are dumber than you, used to talking to people that don't know what they're talking about, don't know how to physically and verbally and mentally defend themselves. So therefore, the minute that I respond to what you're saying, you somehow call it aggro, you somehow call it angry, or this, that, and the other. And quite frankly, I'm not here to address any of that, because by the end of the day, here's really what it is. You don't have a profile pic. You also don't have $5,000 in your bank account. You got your check engine lights on, which means you got a lot of underlying problems. You got debt high up to the ceiling. You probably have health issues that you can't contend with because for whatever reason, you just can't afford it. Or maybe because, let's say you're in England, you have to wait for NHS lines to take care of you, and as a result, you can't do anything about it. So there you go, because you can't afford private health care. Chi Max says, yeah, for real. Khabib, 1 year ago, he tapped like chicken. Let's go with your chicken, Zachary says. Okay. So IRAP says, get dragged here by accident to see Scum Bubble. Okay, but you get dragged here, period. So, you know, I don't know what you're talking about. But on any regard, so going back to what we were saying, right? Let's get back to the preview of this card right here. And anyone that's going to interfere with that, you're going to get banned and you're going to get the F up out of here, because we're not going to tolerate any of that. So here we go. All right, 12 minutes into... all right, so the preview show that we got going on. Let's start from the very top, right? The very top, we have two undefeated guys right here, two undefeated contenders. Laron Murphy versus Evloev. Now, Evloev has been passed up with so many title shots over the years, right? Over the past couple of months. Volkanovski was fighting Diego Lopez. Okay, a lot of people were not happy about that. Well, now he has his chance to potentially get a title shot. He just now has to basically beat Laron Murphy. He's got to go and beat Laron Murphy. So if he can beat Laron Murphy, I think that signifies that, you know what, maybe he needs to get a title shot. Now, what about Laron Murphy? 17-0. Right, has had quite an interesting career over the years, right? Laron Murphy, let's take a look at his, past, his past couple of fights. Okay, so the past couple of fights he's had going on, Aaron Pico, spinning back elbow, right? A lot of people said that Aaron Pico was going to be the next star in the UFC, right? He comes in there as a debut. By the way, a very tough debut. Right, an undefeated Laron Murphy. You don't get any easy fights in the UFC whatsoever, right? So here's Aaron Pico, gets knocked out by a spinning elbow. Prior to that, Josh Emmett, he gets a decision win over Josh Emmett, a decision win over Dan Ige, Edson Barbosa. Not very easy fights, right? But again, you know, that's what you got to do sometimes. Josh Colabau gets a unanimous decision against him, gets a split decision over Gabriel Santos, finally knocks out Makwan Amirkhani, gets a decision over Douglas De Silva, finishes Ricardo Ramos, finishes Manolo, also gets a decision. So let's see it. He did have a fight against, what's his name? He did have a fight against, I don't know why it's not in here. Laron Murphy had a fight against Zubaira. And by the way, they went to a draw. Okay, oh, there it is. Okay, so there's a draw. September 7, 2019, he got a draw from that. He says, Armin, this guy talk all his life about rematch, but I know if he beat Charles at UFC 300, he'd never take the fight. Is that in reference to Armin? Okay. Okay, split decision against Zubaira, right? Now, Laron Murphy, he has the ability to finish fights, but he also has the ability to go all 5 rounds, right? Now, let's take a look at Movsar Evloev. Let's take a look at where he's been in his whole entire career. So in his whole entire career, he has now beaten Aljamain Sterling. He's beaten Arnold Allen by decision. Diego Lopez, he's got a win over Diego Lopez, for crying out loud, back in 2023. But yet Diego Lopez is the one that gets a title shot, gets a win over Dan Ige. Okay, another mutual opponent that he has with with Murphy, has a win over Hakeem Dawodu, has a split decision win over Nick Lenz, Mike Grundy. A lot of decision wins here, right? He does get a finish against Rafael Diaz. Did he get any finishes in the UFC? So let's see. Song Yong Choi, nope. Nope. Let's see what finishes he had in the UFC. So all his fights have been 100% decisions. Okay, 9 decisions that he's had in his UFC career, right? 9 decisions. Now, is that indicative of anything? I'll tell you what this is indicative of. I would be very surprised if he can finish LaRon Murphy, but I highly doubt it. I think that this is a reason why he doesn't get a title shot. He hasn't finished anyone in the UFC, but he dominates a lot of guys in the UFC for all that's worth. I mean, does that matter that he dominates these guys, but at the same time, he's also not getting finishes? I think that could be a factor as to why he's not getting the title shot. Now, what are some criteria that they look for title shots, right? Somebody who is exciting, somebody who is dynamic, somebody who can sell tickets, somebody who can talk. He obviously does not have any of those things, right? And by the way, I love Evloev. This is a guy that, you know, I favor for obvious reasons, right? He's a Muslim fighter, Dagestani. Why would I not favor him, right? But at the same time, he doesn't get any finishes. Doesn't get any finishes. No finishes from Diego Lopez. Couldn't finish Arnold Allen. Couldn't finish Aljamain Sterling. Couldn't finish Hakeem Dawodu. Barely wins against Nick Lenz. Okay, dominates Mike Grundy. Gets a win over Enrique Barzola. Gets a win over Song Yong Choi. Rafael Diaz was his last knockout, and that was in round number 5 at M1 Global Challenge. And by the way, that was for the M1 Global Challenge title. So he doesn't get a lot of finishes. What I'm going to lead to believe is that he is going to win this fight, but not only will he win this fight, he will win this fight by unanimous decision. Or better yet, there's a good chance that he wins this fight by split decision versus LaRon Murphy. Or it could end up a draw. That's right. This fight could end up as a draw, okay? I'm going to make a bold prediction of that right now, all right? The bold prediction I'm going to make is that this fight could end in a draw. And I'm going to tell you why right now, why this fight could end in a draw. It could. I'm not saying that it will, but it could. My official prediction is that I think Evloev is going to win by decision if I had to pick a winner. However, the trajectory of both of these men are going to end up getting a draw. I promise you that. This fight is a recipe for a draw. Well, how do I know that? Zubaira is a great example of that. Very similar style that he has with Evloev. Evloev uses a lot more wrestling. Even though Zubaira is from Team Khabib, he doesn't use a lot of wrestling, but Khabib encourages him to use a lot of wrestling. That's going to play a factor. LaRon Murphy is a dangerous striker. He can crack, okay? And here's another thing about LaRon Murphy's life story, right? The man was shot 5 times, okay? LaRon Murphy was shot 5 times. Just like 50 Cent, just like Tupac. And that is the reason why he walks out to ambitions as a writer. But from Tupac, right? He was shot 5 times and survived. I've met guys that have been shot before. Okay, the resilience, the type of mental fortitude that these men have, it is absolutely unmatched in whatever it is that they do in life. Now, it just so happens that what Evloev decides to do in life, what Murphy decides to do in life is mixed martial arts. And this is going to lend him some positivity. So I think, as high level of Evloev is, the toughness and tenacity and the new developing skills of Laron Murphy is still going to give some problems for Evloev. It's still going to give him some problems, meaning that they're going to be in for a fight. Let me tell you how this is going to go. Evloev shoots in for a takedown. Maybe Laron Murphy stuffs it. Maybe Laron Murphy gets into some scrambling exchanges to which he will get the better of, which is a possibility. And maybe a few times he's going to go and crack Evloev in the face, and that is a strong possibility that he will. He can absolutely crack Evloev in the face. And when he does, Evloev is going to have a harder time than what he had anticipated. Why? The reason why is because it's going to be a much harder fight when Laron Murphy is cracking you in the face while also trying to take you down, trying to maintain him to a ground control time, to which Laron Murphy is going to resist, and it's going to be a hard fight. It's going to be a very difficult fight for Laron Murphy. But it's also going to be a difficult fight for Evloev. But what is the main reason why I'm sort of leaning towards Evloev rather than leaning towards Laron Murphy? It's because of the wrestling. I think wrestling wins fights, and if all else fails, that is exactly what Evloev is going to do. But make no mistake, there is a good chance that Laron Murphy can crack him, but I don't know if he can finish him as a result of that. These two guys don't have good finishing rates, except for Laron Murphy. He does have decent finish rates, but Evloev has no finishes at all in the UFC. And this is the reason why they are holding him back for title shots. But I promise you, this fight is going to end up as a draw. I can see this fight ending up as a draw. Now, do I want that? No, because obviously it's not going to leave anything definitive in terms of, real solutions, real definitive conclusions that we need in terms of finding out who the real champion is or who the real contender is. Because now they're just going to keep giving Volkanovski these BS fights. But these guys need to show out. The problem is, I don't think they're going to show out in the way that, I think that I think that you might anticipate. So, I'm going to go with a draw for Evloev. And obviously a draw, but sliding towards Evloev for the win. Okay, that is my official prediction on that one. All right, so let's move on to the co-main event. All right, so let's see, the co-main event of this evening right here is Luke Riley, 12-0, taking on the American Michael Aswell Jr., 11-3. Let's take a look at where Michael Aswell Jr. has been in his career. He says, "Hi, Hate, I'm here. What's the topic?" The topic is UFC London next weekend. Obviously, Fight Night with Josh Emmett and Vallejos just finished last night as a headliner. Now we're going to get right into UFC London. So that is a main topic right now. So, okay, Michael Aswell Jr. Last fight was against Lucas Almeida. Gets a finish, first round knockout. Prior to that, Baloji Oki gets a decision win. By the way, that guy got knocked out yesterday cold. Okay, gets a split decision win over Dorian Ramos. Gets a split decision loss against Bogdan Grad. He says, what is your prediction on Ilya versus Justin, bro? I think Ilya is going to win that one. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, guys. Let's get this thing cracking, shall we? So, all right. Gets a loss against Yadir Davali. Okay, that was back in Fury FC. Okay, so that was in the regional scenes. Now, let's take a look at his opponent, Luke Riley. Okay, the highly touted Luke Riley, obviously, the... says, Salam, are you fasting today? Of course, man, of course. Days just a couple of days left. So he has a win over a neutral opponent, Bogdan Grad, gets a knockout. Prior to that, gets another knockout. These were all Cage Warrior fights, by the way. So this is his second UFC fight. Yeah, this guy's just getting knockouts after knockouts, a few decisions here and there. I think he's going to get a knockout on this one. I think Luke Riley gets a knockout sometime in the third round or so. That is my official prediction. Knockout Luke Riley, third round. Do you think Ilya beats Islam? No, I do not. I think that the wrestling that Islam has going on is way far too advanced for Ilya to deal with. So that is where I stand on that. I think that there is no way that he is going to beat him just based on the wrestling alone. But with this fight, Luke Riley, I'm going with Luke Riley, third round knockout. Now, moving on, we have Michael Venom Page, 24-3, against Sam Patterson. Now, we talk about how a lot of these guys, okay, haven't gotten a lot of finishes, right? Especially Movsar Evloev and Laron Murphy sometimes can put himself in a really, stinker type of a fight, right? So, with Luke Riley, he's had finishes, but he's undefeated, right? So he has a propensity to finish. Michael Venom Page, okay, in a few of his UFC fights has not gotten any finishes, right? So maybe they're giving him Sam Patterson because they're looking to sort of make a highlight reel out of Sam Patterson's head, and that could be a possibility. So, all right, let's take a look at his fights, right? This guy's had some finishes, okay? Trey Waters, his last fight back in September, okay? Right hook, standing TKO. Gets another knockout against Dan Barlow, gets an arm triangle choke against Crosby, gets a rear naked choke, another submission win over Lianci, and then loses to a knockout against Yanel Amouche. Okay, has had rear naked chokes. Okay, so this guy is a finisher. All right, now Michael Venom Page. Let's take a look at his career so far. Let's see here. Jared Cannonier, decision win. Shara Magomedov, decision win. Gets a win against Carlos Condit in grappling. Wow, okay. So he's got some grappling skills there. Loses to Ian Gary by decision. All right, and then Kevin Holland gets a win over Kevin Holland. I predict this is going to be a decision win for Michael Venom Page, okay? Sam Patterson is a finisher. Okay, Sam Patterson is a finisher. What a Toxic Game Plays here says, I can't believe Gypsy Crusader won. Hey, man, that's boxing for you. You know what I mean? And you know what? Both of those guys fought horribly, but the judges saw it in the way of Gypsy Crusader. What can you do? That's boxing by the end of the day. And obviously the pro-black crowd was not too happy about it, but, that's boxing by the end of the day, But yeah, I did see that fight last night. So, look, Sam Patterson has had a lot of finishes, right? So I think Michael Venom Page is going to be reluctant in trying to be in a firefight with him. I think Michael Venom Page is going to be very methodical in this fight. He's going to use a lot of angles. He's going to use a lot of back and forths. He's going to use a lot of circling around. He's going to use a lot of these unorthodox movements to try and offset Sam Patterson. I think that is exactly what he is going to do, right? So as a result of that, I think that Michael Venom Page is going to play it safe, but I also think he's going to win by unanimous decision by playing it safe. Okay, so moving on, we have EU Baranski taking on Austin Lane, the former NFL player Austin Lane. Right now in his career, 13-7 in his career, coming off of a 2-fight losing streak, okay? He's lost to Vitor Petrino, okay? And by the way, Vitor Petrino had a fight last night, all right? And Vitor Petrino had a unanimous decision win against Steven Asplund. Very good fight, by the way. But yeah, he loses to Petrino, rear naked choke. Mario Pinto gets knocked out. Uh, Actually beats Robles Deponge, right? Got him up out of here. The what was he? I think Dominican or Cuban. The Cuban Taekwondo fighter, right? So he's a bit on a losing streak right now, except for that one win that he had against Robles, right? Now let's take a look at EU Boronsky. Okay, so Boronsky is 7-0. 7-0 right now, has one fight in the UFC, knocked out Ibu Aslan. And in the Contender Series, he also had another knockout. Yeah, I think he's going to knock out Austin Lane. I think Austin Lane is very green, right? He's one of these football players that believes, you know what, just because I'm a football player that somehow I have, you know, these powers over these men, right? Or, you know, some sort of like magical powers that nobody else has. So as a result, you know, I'm just going to go in here and I'm easily going to knock this dude out. And he's going to swing for the fences. He's going to rely a lot on his athleticism. Whereas EU here, I think he's going to rely a lot on his technical skills, his knockout power. I think he walks in and gets knocked out. I think he knocks out Austin Lane sometime in the first or second round. So EU Boronsky is going to knock out Austin Lane, and that is my official prediction for that one. All right, so moving on. This is an interesting middleweight matchup right here, right? I was watching Cage Warriors, you know, briefly yesterday, and there was, yeah, I mean, I couldn't really watch the whole thing because obviously I wanted to focus more on the UFC Fight Night card yesterday. But yeah, Christian Leroy Duncan is a former Cage Warriors champion, right? And he's taking on Roman Dolidze. Let's take a look at where Roman Dolidze's career path has been so far. 15-4, 0 losses. Is coming off of a loss against Anthony Hernandez. He gets choked out by Anthony Hernandez. He comes back to UFC London, tries to get a redemption out of it. All right, rear naked choke in the 4th round. He has a win over Marvin Vettori, has a win over Kevin Holland due to a rib injury, has a decision win over Anthony Smith, and that was back in UFC 303. Has a loss against Nasruddin Imavov, by the way, majority decision loss, so he was close and right in there. Let's see here. Has a win over Jack Hermanson, so he's got some pretty impressive names. So this is a big step up for Christian Leroy Duncan, even though Roman Dolidze is coming off of a loss. Christian Leroy Duncan, okay, loses to RoboCop, and that was a few UFC fights in, right? Loses to RoboCop, then gets a win over Andre Poliev, has a win over Eric Anders. By the way, Eric Anders fought last night, and Eric Anders actually beat Brad Tavares, right? So, you know, that win probably aged well for Christian Leroy Duncan. And then Marco Tulio gets a spinning back fist against him. I think this is going to go to a decision. Against who, though? That's going to be hard to tell, right? I think Roman Dolidze, coming off of being finished, I think he's going to be very careful and very reluctant to fight on the ground with Dolidze. Although I think Dolidze is probably the better grappler between him and Christian Leroy Duncan, I would reckon, right? Christian Leroy Duncan has a very dynamic style, very unorthodox style, right? Also very technical and unorthodox at the same time, right? I think Christian Leroy Duncan is going to outpoint him. That's what I think. So I'm going with Christian Leroy Duncan by unanimous decision. That is my official prediction for that one. So I'm going with Christian Leroy Duncan by unanimous decision. Okay, so next fight coming up. We got Curtis Campbell taking on Danny Silva. Unranked, unknown guys. Curtis Campbell 8-0, Danny Silva 10-2. Let's take a look at where Danny Silva has been. He is the visiting American fighter taking on Danny Silva here. The Race Whisperer is on fire. There is no stopping this man. He lets you speak your mind and always keeps it real. MMA guru couldn't shine his shoes, man. Shout out to you on that, man. Heck yeah, man. You know, and that's why I'm here right now, you know, breaking down these fights, like what I do best. Obviously, I do a lot of political content, gang content, you know, and all those are entertaining as well. But this is my bread and butter right here is MMA. You know, MMA is my bread and butter, and MMA is what has, you know, brought me around the world, and what has brought me, you know, a worldwide audience, right, is, you know, is MMA. So, you know, this is bread and butter right here above all else. So, okay, coming from Bloodline Combat Sports, that is the affiliation gym that Danny Silva is from. Okay, so Danny Silva is 10-2. He has a loss over Kevin Vallejos, who, by the way, just won last night, right? So it's crazy how these guys fought back in the summer, and now they're coming back here in the springtime, right? So, you know, a quick turnaround in that end. Okay, so he loses to Kevin Vallejos, right? From what people were telling me in the chat, Kevin Vallejos is the Argentinian Ilia Topuria, and I can obviously see why they said that after Kevin Vallejos was able to finish Josh Emmett last night. He's coming off of also a win from Lucas Almeida prior to that. That was last year, last March, split decision win. So that was about a year ago. Has a win over Josh Kalibau, split decision. Angel Pacio, another a unanimous decision. But then, yeah, and that was in a contender series, and then in the LFA, he had knocked somebody out before he went into the contender series. So, okay, let's take a look at his opponent. Curtis Campbell, okay, the hometown English fighter, 8-0, Curtis Campbell. Comes out of the MMA Academy from Liverpool Gym, all right? So this is his UFC debut coming off of his contender series, okay, which he had an elbow win against Demi Sock. Okay, so he's got some rear naked choke wins, punch, knockout wins, decisions, calf kick wins, so liver kick. Okay, so he's got really good kicks, this guy, right? And he's 8-0. I'm going to go with him by unanimous decision, right? Curtis Campbell, the Pink Panther. I think he wins this one by unanimous decision. Yeah, I'm going to go with Curtis Campbell on this one, unanimous decision. I don't think these guys finish each other at all. But yeah, 9-0 as he continues. Okay, so moving on. We got Mason Jones against Alex Sola, the undefeated French fighter. Mason Jones, also a former Cage Warriors champion in the lightweight division, by the way. Okay, Mason Jones also trains out here in Team Alpha Male, for those of you that don't know, right? Another guy that I see around town as well, you know, roaming around Sacramento, right? So, yeah, he's with, you know, Team Alpha Male, but he also trains with Pedro Bessa, BJJ, which is probably a gym out in Wales where he trains at. So he's got a knockout win against Oki, by the way, a guy who fought last night. He's got a win over Jeremy Stevens, right? That was like last year. You know what I mean? Has a win over Jeremy Stevens. He's got a win over Michael Picani. He's got a win over Bryce Logan. Now let's take a look at this Axel Sola guy that he's fighting, right? The Frenchman. He kind of looks like the young Andrew Tate a little bit. If you guys want to check him out, right, take a look at this, right? Kind of has a little bit of, you know, a young Andrew Tate appearance to him. You know, if you guys can, you know, really see the resemblance in that, right? So, okay, Alex Sola. Let's see here. Alex Sola has a win over Reese McKee. By the way, he was the co-host last night for the Cage Warriors show. Has a win over Gils Uldia. That was in Ares FC. So these are championship fights. So this guy's coming off of championship fights in Ares FC. So we got former Ares champion versus Cage Warriors champion in this one. Okay. What is that? Has a draw against Dagir Imavov. Okay, really interesting. Okay. And that was a championship fight. So he's got 4 title defenses under his belt. Yeah, Mason Jones has... I think he's going to have his hands full with Mason Jones. I'm going to go with Mason Jones by split decision. I think that this is going to go to a split decision, but I think it's going to go in the favor of Mason Jones. All right, so next fight, Nathaniel Wood, okay, taking on Lucene Kita. Let's take a look at where Lucene Kita has been. 16-1, former Octagon champion, looks like a double champion right there. Anytime you see somebody who's a double champion, that spells you know, some pretty good future settings right there, right? But let's take a look at where he's been in the UFC. He hasn't been in the UFC. This is actually his UFC debut. Okay, so he's got a few finishes in the Octagon. By the way, a very highly touted European organization, okay? This organization, okay, is top-notch in Poland, I believe. I believe Octagon is Poland, or is it the Czech Republic? Let me know in the chat below if you guys know for certain what country Octagon is. I believe the Czech Republic, but somewhere, yeah, in Eastern Europe, I reckon. Where this organization is from. So okay, yeah, double champion we got going on here, right? At lightweight, and also pound for pound, number 10. He says, yeah, Andrew Tate, I was born in Luton. We don't claim Andrew Tate or Tommy Robinson. Well, by the end of the day, Tommy Robinson and Andrew Tate claim Luton hard. So, you guys can only deny him for so long. But, yeah. All right, so he's ranked number one in the Czech Republic. Yeah, so this is going to be a tough fight for Nathaniel Wood, right? Nathaniel Wood, also a former Cage Warriors champion, right? 22-6 in his career right now. But coming off of some serious wins right here, even including some grappling against Alex Caceres in Polares. Has a unanimous decision win over Daniel Pineda. Has a grappling win over Cameron Ailes. Morgan Charrier has a unanimous decision against him. That's a tough fight right there. And has a unanimous decision over Jose Delgado. I'm going to go with Lucene Kita, though, right? There's a reason why this guy is a double champion in another organization, right? Conor McGregor was a former double champion in Cage Warriors, and then when he came into the UFC, you've seen how promising he was, right? It tells a lot. It tells a lot if you can be a double champion. So, yeah, I'm going to go with him on that one. I'm going to go with Lucene Kita, but I think that he wins by decision. It's his UFC debut, right? The Octagon jitters are going to be there. And Nathaniel Wood is a tough outing for somebody who is on a hot winning streak right now, on top of the fact that it's UFC. This is UFC level. He's going to have a hard time, with this fight. All right, next fight. In the heavyweight division, Felipe Franco, 10-1 against Mario Pinto at 11-0. So Mario Pinto from Portugal. Okay, let's check him out right here. This is Mario Pinto right here. Ranked number 20 amongst heavyweights. So has a win over Jotana Diaz, full mount, ground and pound. Austin Lane, who's also in this fight card. Lucas Camacho. Now let's take a look at Felipe Franco. Where's he been? 10-1, Brazilian. 6'1", his height 204. So this is he was a light heavyweight. Lost at the Contender Series. Gets a shot to fight in a regional scene. Gets a knockout. Gets another knockout. Yeah, I'm going to go with Mario Pinto on this one, just based on his UFC experience alone. I think Mario Pinto, does he have any submission wins? Let's see if he has any submission wins here. No. Okay. I don't see him knocking him out. I think this one goes to a decision. Yeah, I think this fight with Pinto and Franco goes to a decision. I think it's going to go to the side of Mario Pinto. Right, just a lot of UFC experience so far. Felipe lost in a Contender Series, and now he's getting an opportunity to fight in the UFC. Yeah, I think this is Mario Pinto's fight to win. For sure, this is Mario Pinto's fight to win right here. Yeah. I think he wins that one easily. Easily he wins that one. But not by a finish. I don't think that he's going to finish him. Maybe he might. But for this occasion, I think, yeah, I think that he gets a unanimous decision win. That's what I think on this one. All right, so moving on. Moving on to the next fight. We got Antonio Trocali taking on Montas Contravicius, 8-1, taking on 12-6. Okay, so let's take a look at where Antonio Trocali has been in his whole career. All right, so 12-6 so far, on a bit of a losing streak here, right? Loses to Mansour Abdelmalik, Treyshan Gore, gets knocked out by Shara Magomedov. Yeah, man, hasn't been, really successful in his UFC career. So, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to go with Mantis on this one, right? The losing streak doesn't give me much confidence. So, I'm going to go with the Lithuanian fighter. Let's take a look at where he's been. One fight in the Contender Series so far. Okay, has a grappling competition win back in October. Cage Warriors experience. Has fought in Aries. By the way, his only loss, submission loss. I doubt this guy submits him. So I'm going to go with this guy by finish. I think he's going to finish Antonio Trocali. Take a look at how Trocali has been finished prior. Right, standing guillotine, gets knocked out by Shara Magomedov. I think he gets knocked out in this one. I honestly think, yeah, he gets knocked out in this one right here. And then look, he quit and retired against Marcelo Barbosa in Jungle Fight 91 back in 2017. Yeah, man, this guy has quit in him. I think he's going to end up quitting this fight as well. I think he gets stopped TKO. So that's going to be my official prediction on that one. Yeah, TKO finish for the Lithuanian Montas. All right, we move on to the next fight, guys. Let's see here, the next fight. Okay, Louis Sutherland taking on Brando Petrick. The Scotsman, 10-4. The Aussie, flying all the way here from Australia, 5-1. This is a heavyweight fight. Let's take a look at where Brando Petrick has been. The Balkan Bear. All right, let's check this dude out. The Balkan Bear. 6'5", weighing in at 261. South Australia, city kickboxing. So he trains with Israel Adesanya, this guy. All right, so he has one win in the UFC so far, and that's against Alicia Ellison. Now let's take a look at Louis Sutherland, right? The Scotsman that is in here. He was the former LFL champion, the Vanilla Gorilla. Look at the size of this dude, 6'3", weighs in at 264. So, real true heavyweight right there. Really cuts down to be a heavyweight. He's got a win in the PFL, one loss in the UFC, one loss in Bellator. Has lost to Walter Walker. Has lost to a decision in Bellator. I'm going to go with Brando Petrick right here. I'm going to go with him. I think that he's going to fight very technical in this one. I think that he knocks him out. That's what I think. I think he gets a knockout in this fight right here. You guys know that city kickboxing is probably one of the most technical gyms when it comes to striking, right? So you know this guy's going to be prepared. Not only is he going to be prepared, he's going to outstrike this guy, and that is indicative of the fact that he comes from City Kickboxing. Yeah, I think he wins this one by unanimous decision. No, knockout. First round, second round knockout. Second round TKO. That's what I'll go with. Second round TKO. The Balkan Bear gets it. All right, so lightweight division. We got Shamrock, 12-2, taking on Al-Swalwadi. Al-Swalwadi. Okay. Looks like he's from Palestine. So he's Palestinian. Got the Palestinian flag right here. The pride of Palestine. So he lost his last fight in the UFC. That was back in March 2024. Hasn't been active since, man. You know, so he's been out for 2 years. You know, I don't like that. That doesn't spell, you know, anything good. But Shamrock, let's take a look at where Shamrock has been. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Shamrock by unanimous decision. You know, sorry to say that to my Palestinian brother, but he's coming off of a unanimous decision loss. That's back in November. That was in the Qatar card, right? Evloev gets a decision against him. Prior to that, he has a split decision win in the Octagon, and then signs to the UFC right after. So yeah, this is his second fight, and a bit of a redemption for both of them, right? El-Kheer hasn't fought for 2 years, and Shamrock here, you know, is coming off of his UFC loss in his debut. So he's looking to redeem himself. Yet this guy right here has not fought for 2 years. Hasn't fought in the UFC for 2 years. Okay, and he was supposed to have a couple of fights that got canceled. He was supposed to fight Jordan Levitt. That never happened. Guram, by the way, the training partner of Khamzat Oki, who just fought last night, got knocked out. And now he's coming in here against Shamrock. I'm going to have to go with Shamrock by decision, right? He's going to play it safe. He knows that he has a loss in the UFC. He wants to, you know, avenge that loss in any kind of way that he can. So, yeah, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Shamrock on this one. You know, but we'll see, man. You know, well, maybe El-Kheer will surprise us, right? Maybe he's been cooking up something these past couple of years, but I go by the consistency of what I see in front of me, and yeah, I'm gonna go with Shamrock on this one. All right, so the last two, obviously, they're women's fights. Whatever, we'll go through them. Shynell Dyer, 6-1, the Nightmare. Here, Shynell Dyer, the Nightmare, 6-1. 3-0 in the PFL, lost the Contender Series. So I notice a pattern here, right? I notice the pattern here is that whenever there is a fighter that lost in a Contender Series, they don't push them out right away, right? Or push them out of the way, you know, just based off of that loss, right? They sort of keep them in data and say, hey, you know what? Maybe somewhere down the line, we'll have something for you, right? We'll have a fight ready for you. We can get you in this card. You can do this card. You can do that. But let's take a look at her opponent. Let's take a look at where her opponent has been. Yeah, it was a Contender Series loss. That was back in September 9th, by the way. Even though she lost that one, she actually won a UFC contract against Carol Foro. Okay, Ravina Oliveira. Let's take a look at where Ravina Oliveira has been. Okay, the Brazilian fighter that she is fighting right here, 7-3-1. Coming off of a 2-fight losing streak. So I can see why they matched her up with this girl right here, right? The other girl has lost in the Contender Series. Now she gets another shot. This girl right here has lost twice already in her UFC debut, right? Looking to get a win, but sort of giving them a bit of a redemption, right? So, okay, it's a good card opener, a decent card opener, right? Redemption. That is sort of the story that they are sort of pushing here, right? Is redemption. Redemption in these fighters, right? One is coming off of a Contender Series loss, even though she won a contract through that loss. This one won a contract easily after fighting in the LKC organization. And now, after 2 losses, one a rear naked choke and one a unanimous decision, they're giving her Shinel Dyer as a potential comeback. So, by the way, she trains out of the Great Britain Top Team, and that is a gym in London. Great Britain Top Team, I believe, is in London. So, man, that's a tough one, man. Yeah, that is a tough one. I might have to go with Ravina Oliveira, right? Just based off of her experience. I think her experience is what is going to win this particular fight. Look, this whole entire card from the bottom part of this UFC London card, right? There's a theme. The theme is redemption. You lost before. We're going to give you an opportunity again. But I think Shinel Dyer's experience in the UFC, I think, is going to lend her a win here, right? Lend her a win. It will get her over the line. So, yeah, I'm going to go with her by decision on this one. This one, I'm going to go with a decision against Shinel Dyer. So that's going to be my official prediction on that one. Yeah, man, I really like the matchmaking, right? Look, very underrated matchmaking, by the way, right? A lot of people are going to think, like, well, why are you letting these people who have lost in the UFC before, come in here? Well, I think that's kind of good, right? We don't know the true potential of these people until you give them a chance, right? And this is the best chance that you can give them, somebody with a losing streak and then somebody that lost by decision while also getting a UFC contract. I think that's amazing. That's great. Yeah, that's a great concept. But I'm going to go with Shinel Dyer just based off the experience alone. So that's going to be my official pick on that one. It's going to be Shinel Dyer by unanimous decision. Okay, that's going to be my bold prediction on that one because let's be honest, a lot of women's fights go to a unanimous decision, right? So that's kind of where a lot of this thing, leads into. So, all right, Melissa Mullins taking on Luana Carolina. Okay, that's going to be the opener of the card right there. Let's take a look at where Luna Carolina's career has been so far. All right, so Luana Carolina, 11-5 in her current career trajectory right now. All right, 11-5. Let's take a look at where she's been in her whole entire career with her 11-5 record. So coming off of a loss against Michelle Montague, unanimous decision, right? Not much of a surprise. These types of fights usually end up in a decision. That's just how these things go, right? 11-4. And then gets a win over Lucille Pudlova. And then gets a win over Julia Storolenko. Right? Punches from the crucifix position right here. This is the fighter that she had defeated before. He says GBGBT Gym is in London. Mitchum, hate that he did a video on his old channel. I still remember. Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that he did, videos. I didn't know that Hate Love did videos like that. That's kind of awesome, man. All right. Okay, so that's the only loss that she's had in the UFC. Well, no, actually, she has had loss against Molly McCann with that spinning back elbow back in 2022. Yeah, that was wow. Yeah, that was a devastating one. That was a devastating elbow she took on that one. Then Joanne Calderwood gets a split decision win against her. Okay, let's take a look at Melissa Mullins. Yeah, so is that right, Jimmy Smith? She actually did. I mean, I'm sorry, Hate Love. He actually did videos back in the days. I didn't know that, man. I didn't know that. That's kind of awesome, man. That he did videos. So that's good to know. Thank you for letting me know that, man. All right. So Melissa Mullins. No mess, Melissa Mullins. Okay, so 7-2 right now in her current record. Right? Has a unanimous decision win over Courtney El-Kheer. Has a win over Jessica Tortilla. Julia Mikhailovich has a submission win. Daria okay, so she's been in a losing streak as of late. But has, okay, a win. That win was in oh, that was grappling. Okay, that win's not even MMA, that's grappling. But yes, okay, that's also a grappling loss, okay? Grappling loss. So 1-1 in her last 2 UFC fights, you know, or we could say 2-1 in her last 3 fights. Against, so 3-1 in her last UFC fights. Carolina has 2-1. So it's 2-1 versus 2-1. Wow. All right, that's a tough decision to make right there. I'm going to have to go with... I'm going to go with Melissa Mullins by decision. I think Melissa Mullins wins this one by decision. Very close decision. I think she wins this one right here. So, yeah, that's my official prediction for that one. That is the full entire card that I went through right now. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to go on a little bit of a bonus stream right now. You know, just sort of hang out, chill, talk for a bit. You know, let me know what you guys think about this card, right? What is your favorite card in this fight? What is your favorite fight in this card, rather? Mine, obviously, the main event. I really like that one. Michael Venom Page, I think, is going to go to a decision on this one. Jimmy Smith says, yeah, for the record, for debate of religion, but this channel got closed. I think he still have old vids of him in his PC. I will ask him to show you. Okay, so for the record, so his channel got closed because of religious debates? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying, lad? You know, you're saying that his channel got closed because of that? Wow, man. Yeah. Crazy stuff, man. You know, that is, you know, some reasons for, you know, getting your channel closed, I suppose, right? You know, when you really... you know, get too controversial. But then again, you know, you never know, man, because sometimes, you know, AI, you know, will detect things that, you know, isn't what it seems, and for whatever reason, it is what it is. But that's unfortunate, man. You know, but yeah, man, speaking of London, I have a video game that is based in London. I'm going to play it right now just to kind of, you know, give you guys, you know, a look of London. Because that's all I really wanted to do for this live stream, right, was go over this whole entire card and, you know, give it some, you know, predictions, give it some analysis, breakdowns, and things of that nature. But yeah, I think we've pretty much done all the fights with that one. So, you know, we're just going to get into, you know, the video game mode right now, and then, you know, it'll be that. So, all right, let's see here. Yeah, this video game takes place in London, by the way. Um, Jimmy Smith says he was closed for defending his country. He is half Palestinian, half Pakistani. He just say stop terrorist attacks on Palestine, and they say he is anti-Semitic. Wow. So all because of that. Wow. Okay. Dang, bro. I didn't know that. That's crazy. Yeah, man, that's crazy stuff, man. Crazy to hear. Yeah, that's why you got to be very careful with some of the things that you say in your channel. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have to be very, very careful about what you say. Because otherwise, you know, they can take you down for anything. So just waiting for it to load. Yeah, this game is good, but first one is the best. Second one is the same as Watchdog 1 is the best. Yeah, I just like this one because it takes place in London, and it sort of, you know, goes into the theme of, you know, what we're talking about.
Press button A.
Remember when 1 hour of load on PS1? Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah, I had to reset the load on this one. I like here when is I like here when is you next live. I like here is when, okay, are you asking when I'm going to be live next? Yeah, the next live I'm probably going to do is probably going to be about Benjamin Netanyahu. That's what I think. Yeah, I'm going to do a story on Benjamin Netanyahu and determine whether he really is alive or not.
Press button A.
Come on, get in there. Get in there, lad. Yes, I say I like here when what is your next live or no times set. Yeah, I don't really have the time set because I have such an unpredictable schedule that yeah I can't just say all right, hey, I want you guys to come meet me here at this time because I don't know if I'm going to be able to sort of fulfill that. So yeah. Oh my goodness, man. What is taking so long with this? Okay, well, maybe we'll play something else, kind of UK related here. You know what I mean? Here we go. We're going to play a bit of some Forza. How about that, man? We'll do some Forza instead. Because that one's taking too long to load. I don't know what's going on with that. But Hate is always texting me when you live, but he knows you only tell because him is the mod. Got it. Okay. Yeah, what part of the UK are you from, Jimmy Smith? No, if I ask you, tell Hate time is magic. He always knows me. I'm from Luton, but now in Westminster, London. Ah, okay. Westminster, London. Yeah, that's a nice part of town, man. Westminster, London. Hey, speaking of the UK, check this out right here. This bastard! This bastard! Don't push me! Don't push me! This bastard! This bastard! Oh man. So it says here, breaking, Sikh restaurant owner arrested for not selling halal meat. Muslims surrounded a business issuing death threats, rape threats, because it would not serve halal food. Today, the man protecting his family was the one arrested. Dang, bro. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, this is what's going on in Switzerland right here. Damn, bro. Yeah, the world is going crazy right now. Yeah, the world's going crazy right now, man. Oh, wow. When is this awarded? How many zeros is that? 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. I'll take it. Yup. Crazy stuff going on around the world, huh? All right, man. Time to be the biggest griefer in the online section right now. Put the mask on. All right, let's go. Let's go end some people. I'm gonna sneak up from behind, go off radar.
What do you need exactly? No problem. I'll scramble the signal for 1 minute.
Let's see who should be my victim. Right now, who is out there that I could victimize on? Who is a victim that I could go after? Let's go after people that are already outside. Now, how about this guy right here? Let's go after him. Let's go after him. This is the only thing I don't like about this helicopter. It doesn't land straight. Like, as soon as I try to land, it doesn't have this strong balance. I don't know why. Like, it's kind of weird, but alright. Okay, let's go to the Santa Monica area. Dang it, man. Sniper gang, big. Alright, let's see how much of a sniper gang you are. What is this? Hold on. this freaking useless freaking helicopter. Damn it, man. Got him! But he also got me at the same time. Blank him. Damn it, man. Got him! I am such a petty dude. I love it. Nope, I'm not going to give you no get back whatsoever. I'm going to get away from you, and I'm going to take that win. Got him. Confirmed kill.
I take it this isn't a social call. No problem. I'll scramble the signal for 1 minute.
Got him.
How do you like your popcorn?
Salted, not oiled. It's like James Bond.
How do you like your popcorn?
Salted, not oiled. It's like James Bond.
Here, because it's the open-ended question is, does Israel control the whole world? If Iran vetoes that, then the answer is no. If Iran falls, then the answer is yes. If Israel can destroy a regime that's fortified inside of a mountain behind thousands of missiles and proxies and a million soldiers, well, they can get anybody and they can have anything they want. And if they can't, it means the world is still free. So I'm rooting for Iran to survive. I'm rooting for Trump to walk away. I'm rooting for deterrence to be reestablished. This is not a war, ironically, that we want to win. This is maybe a war that it's better if we lose. Better if we have a strategic defeat. So I think the best case scenario now is for Trump to walk away. Walk away, be done with it. Destroy their military and then claim victory, whatever you need to do, and then walk away, be done with it. Put Israel in their place. And here's how you know it's really fucked up. Oil prices have skyrocketed. It's hurting us. It's hurting everybody. Israel is bombing Iran's oil. What are you going to do that for? Oil prices are $120 a barrel on Sunday. And we have not hit Iran's oil in the hopes that they will not hit our oil in the Gulf. And what does Israel do? They bomb Iran's oil, which makes it an energy war. And you really, we're already fighting your war. The one way this hurts us is with energy, and they want to make it hurt for us more. They hate us. So it's time to be done and walk away. Well, Israel and the U.S. do not have an identical agenda. And that's why last year, Israel got us on the hook in a war by telling us, well, first of all, they launched a preemptive strike. They launched a preemptive strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. Israel claimed that Iran was on the cusp of getting the bomb. And maybe by attacking Iran, they accelerated that timeline. By attacking Iran, maybe Iran resolved that they would build a nuke. Or maybe they would lower the guardrails and they would get closer to building a nuke. So we had to go in and finish the job. If Israel didn't finish the job, if they accelerated it, we had to shut it down. We had to drop bombs that Israel doesn't have to destroy facilities they couldn't reach at Fordo and Natanz. That's how they got us on the hook. And once we were on the hook, well, what did Iran do after the war? They went right back to work rebuilding their capabilities, rebuilding their strategic capabilities, building more missiles, building more drones, rebuilding their nuclear facilities. Apparently they have facilities that we did not know about, centrifuges we didn't know about, and we could not ascertain the extent of the damage and therefore the success of the strike. So by bombing them once, it guaranteed we would come back, because we had to be sure that they were not rebuilding, that they could not reconstitute. We had to be sure that they might not launch a preemptive strike against Israel or us or the Gulf. So now we're back at war. And as we talked about last night, there's a big open-ended question specifically about what our goal is in Iran in this current operation.
Let's be honest, Trump has way too much pride to lead the war at this moment. Has there ever been a time where we have heard Trump say, I'm wrong about this, or my bad, or this was not a good decision that I made? This dude is so prideful that everything he does is a chess move, it's smart, it's the best move a president has ever done. No one's ever done it like me. It's always that. I do agree with Nick right here. I do agree with Nick here. It's a pointless war. We have no business being there. We absolutely do not benefit any type of way. Israel benefits, but not us. Now, I am a Marine Corps veteran, so I am very patriotic, and I do love the country. So I'm not going to go as far like Nick and say, I wish Iran wins. You know, I'm not going to root for Iran. But I do recognize, and I'm not a fan of us being in this conflict with Iran at all. I think the majority of Americans agree with me.
Because they're not telling us. Yesterday, Trump said, we've completed our objectives, we're ahead of schedule, and the war is almost over. But then in the same day, he said it's far from over, it's going to go on for more weeks, we're not going to be done by the end of this week, but soon, maybe later after that, he said we're going to hit them harder than ever, we'll accept nothing less than unconditional surrender. So the question is, what is the strategic goal in this operation? When is it mission accomplished? When are we done? And Washington won't tell us. Is it regime change, or is it just degrading their military? Now, when Trump announced the operation 2 weeks ago, he said, we want to topple the government. Iran is a pariah terror state. They have to be destroyed. Last week, he said, we're going to topple the regime. It's an unconditional surrender. They can't pick a new leader without my approval. I have to appoint the next leader. At the same time, he's saying, we've destroyed their equipment, we've killed their personnel, we're getting ready to wrap it up. Now here comes the divergence. Now that the war has dragged on for 11 days, you're starting to see that this is becoming a quagmire for the United States. We're not going to be able to topple the government if that was ever a strategic objective. We don't know what the original plan was. We don't know what the plan is now. But if the goal ever was toppling the government, that didn't ever seem likely. And it didn't happen in the first week, and it seems very unlikely now. It's not going to happen. You can't dislodge an entrenched regime with a million-man army with bombs from the air. It just isn't done. If we wanted to actually topple the government, it would require a ground force, a huge one. And we would be there for a long time. And we would be fighting in cities and in mountains. And we would be fighting in a very hostile territory. And a lot of Americans would die. So it didn't happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. And it may be impossible unless we escalate to a point that Americans are not comfortable with. At the same time, we are running into some problems here. We're in the middle of this, again, with an objective that cannot be completed, so maybe we're changing the objectives. We're in the middle of this, and we don't really have a good way to get out of it.
So you want to start a business. You might think you need a team of people and fancy tech skills, but you don't.
And now we're starting to face some problems, which are among them, one, we're running out of missile interceptors, as you know, to shoot down Iranian drones and missiles, and that makes us more vulnerable. We have to pick and choose which cities and countries and bases we defend. We have to reallocate strategic assets, moving a THAAD system from South Korea to the Middle East. They're in very short supply. And number two, obviously, the huge constraint on global energy supplies. There's a huge oil crunch. 20% of the world's oil is stuck in the Persian Gulf. And Iran is not only hitting those cargo ships with surface-to-sea missiles, but they're also going to begin mining the Strait of Hormuz with sea-based mines. using small ships that can evade U.S. destroyers and carriers. And now that's causing, potentially, stock market correction, a global recession, and rising gas prices during a midterm election. So, what is Trump starting to think? Well, Trump is now looking for an off-ramp.
Nick's absolutely right. There's just so much uncertainty when it comes to this conflict with Iran. On top of all of that, the American public is getting confused and mixed signals from the president. He gets behind cameras and makes it sound like this is such an easy solution, that he has this in the bag. He says it's going to be really quick. Now we don't know when it's going to end. I do think that boots on the ground is the worst case scenario for us. We're already up about 8 U.S. soldiers have died in this conflict already. That's one too many. Trump does have a big ego, and you know with his relationships with other world leaders that if he says he's going to do something, that he's about that life. So even that.
Well, as you say, Andy, people are drawn to novelty. Everyone's had breakfast once. Why are you going to keep having it again and again?
Boring, repetitive. There's enough of that in life. You are listening to the Mark. Well, another story that has come to the fore recently is that all European imports have been banned for public health reasons, which is great news. I mean, at least we can get eating good, home-produced, locally sourced, British, industrially unsafe food. That's something we can all cling to. Public health reasons, those are curious words. Alice, I don't know, is that in case the public gets too healthy on the Mediterranean month? It's like British food for British tummies. Spelt, nettles, rabbit. That's all we need. That's all we need in the glory days. Everyone round to Nigel for dinner. Yum, yum.
Who needs Italian olives when you can eat pickled rubber bands and a soup of regret? Who needs a nice cheese when you can eat a lukewarm, unspecified rat meat pie with 0 spices? Auto drive now disabled.
Bits of dead fox. That's all we needed to eat in the glory days.
Auto drive now enabled.
That's all from the bug today. Good night, sleep tight, and make sure the bed bugs do die.
GBB drones. In the air and on location.
You can see the tailbacks here.
Because when you want the news,
The drones were able to follow the gunman.
our drones have the news.
Viewers may find some of these images disturbing.
GBB drones. In the air and on the air, 24 hours a day. GBB. Know the news.
Coming up today on The Upload, we're talking about Sky Larson, the enigmatic founder of Broker Tech. Everyone knows her name, but no one knows too much about her. And we only really see her these days as a hologram. She was pretty young when she launched Broker Tech, the company that is best known for introducing Bagley to the world. Nowadays, it's hard to remember a world before Bagley.
Bagley is the most advanced, significant AI of our time, and it's really blown all the other AIs that were created out of the water. And I think that what Sky Larson's done with Bagley is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really imagine the optic without it. But what do you know about Sky Larson herself?
Not a lot, other than that she's actually pretty incredible. I followed her work for a long time, and she's always been a pretty private person. I know that she supposedly grew up in the countryside, but there isn't actually that much more we know about her other than this tech that she's put out into the world.
I've always found it a bit creepy that she's so obsessed with this idea of transhumanism.
Why wouldn't you be? When you've got a mind as amazing as Sky, why wouldn't you want to take what you've got and actually augment it by working with technology, by improving your physical self, changing your body and the world around you, implementing more technology to extend your life and really sort of extend human capabilities?
You sound pretty much in love with Sky Larson, I have to say.
I can't comment on that, but I am a big fan of her work. She's been one of these people that has transformed the world around us, and just watching how her mind works from afar is pretty incredible, because some of what the technology she's introduced has changed how we all live our lives.
Hey, Jimmy Smith, here it is right here, your area of Westminster, London right here, my man.
Jimmy Smith, here it is. I thought she never spoke to the media or anything.
This was a long time ago, back in the day when she was a little bit more accessible, and she was one one of these people that just had an amazing presence. You were inspired by her very being, and she was just incredibly
Auto drive
talented
now
and
disabled.
knowledgeable, and one of possibly the best living people I've ever met.
I'm not sure you're being too objective there. I mean, I imagine she's not very likable as a person.
She obviously despises humanity in some ways. I think she believes that becoming data is preferable to being human. She's one of these people who's extremely in everything that she does, and she does everything to perfection and really tries to change the world around her and make it a better place for us to live in.
If you say so.
It was revealed today that Whitehall has been colluding with aid agencies to enrich a select group of officials by siphoning public funds intended to help society's most vulnerable. Visit GBV for the complete story.
Coming up in today's episode of The Upload, we're talking about how Bagley managed to conquer London. Pretty much my favourite topic. I could talk for hours about the rise of the AI system. It's easy to forget about its origins. It's so present everywhere we go now. Bagley just kind of blends into the background.
Bagley is the service AI that's present in every Optic device. Whether you're using the Optic, Bagley will be there. The AI is streamed to your Optic from Bloom's central command center, and it was first created by Sky Larson, our tech hero, as part of her techno-utopian idea for the world. Why do you think it grew so quickly?
In my mind, it's no surprise that Bagley became so popular. It's funny, useful, fast. It's a great companion and really just makes life so much easier. I mean, when you look back at all the service AIs that used to exist, they just can't compete. When you ask Bagley anything, there's a quick answer and loads of information available to you. One day, I let Bagley answer all of my messages for a whole 24 hours and no one even noticed the difference.
The other competitors really just couldn't compete with Bagley. Their answers were so much worse. They didn't understand anything, and Bagley pretty much gets everything right first time. Do you have any idea why Bagley really beat all the competition?
Well, it's really the data, isn't it? Ever since Broker hooked up with Bloom, that's when things changed.
And really, that's not actually that great. Bloom has data on everybody. They collect information about everything you're doing across the web through your Optic headset. Isn't the AI only good because of Bloom's surveillance?
Well, I suppose so, but I prefer not to talk about that side of things. Bagley is so special because it's been trained on this huge cache of information. That's how these AI systems work, or at least used to work. I mean, we don't really know that much about the latest version because there's so much secrecy around the tech. But they're given this huge amount of training data. It's basically a huge database that's used to teach the AI about patterns in behaviour. You know, so if you always travel the same way to your house, it can predict when you're going to go and get a self-driving car ready for you before you even ask for it.
That's pretty terrifying. In some ways, I don't want this data to drive my life. It understands too much at times. Have you heard some of the rumours around the hacked version of Bagley?
I've heard mutterings, yes.
I've heard it's been used by DedSec.
I wouldn't put it past them. It's pretty well known that they're not fans of Bloom. But the idea of a souped-up version of Bagley, given it's already so intelligent, is a bit terrifying.
I wonder what they can actually make it do.
All clear here. Moving on.
Welcome to Edinburgh, greatest city in the world. Grab yourself some fish and chips, some salt and sauce, and make yourself at home.
Yeah, to answer your question, Victory, I don't even know who that is. I don't watch Harry Potter, but you know, to be associated with Harry Potter in some kind of way just sounds really dorky to me. You know, I hope that answers your question right there. You know, yeah, I just felt like it was a dorky, you know, thing to say. Will you be able to get an inheritance from your father, or is that not something you guys practice? Uh, Inheritance is a right in Islamic practices, but it's not something that I'm going to talk about, you know, in online. But rest assured, you know, inheritance rights are, you know, are a thing in Islam. So think about what would happen if someone tried to take that from me. I mean, you could only have some of the most unimaginable imagination, if you know what I mean. You talked about him having a bodyguard yesterday, so I kind of made some assumptions. All respect. No, not. He wasn't a bodyguard. He was a driver. But because of his experience, I mean, I guess, you know, you could probably convert him to that. But all he was just, you know, my dad's driver. That was about it. You know. Yeah. You know, it's very common for people in Egypt to have a driver. You know, especially if you live in you know, in a village area and you work in a city area. You know, it's very common, very common. Like, it's not yeah, I assume bodyguard because of his background. Yeah. No, 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 no. It's he just happened to have, you know, had you know, a vast military background, you know, that stemmed from, you know, the Egyptian forces all the way to, you know, fighting as a mujahideen against the Russians in the 80s. So those were yeah, and he just happened to be a driver. So um meaning that, you know, that job could have been taken by a person that was working as you know, as a baker. You know what I mean? So it's like one that he just happened to, you know, have that in his back pocket. And you know what? Before I went into the Marine Corps, you know, my dad kind of wanted me to talk to him because, you know, he had like these burnt marks in his arm. And so he was like, "Well, are you sure you want to do this? If you want to do this, you know, make sure you talk to this guy first." And you know, so he showed me like his burnt marks or something. And yeah, so it's like, you know, kind of one of them things, you know. Well, I tell you what, now that Usyk and Rico Verhoeven are going to fight there in May, you might have an idea if you do watch that fight, and I'm sure you will. I'm probably going to cover it here, so yeah, you might have an idea what it's like. But honestly, the pyramids are more of like the tourist areas, so it doesn't really give you the full understanding of Egypt as a society, right? It's just the tourist area. And you know what? A lot of Egyptians don't really identify as the old Egyptian culture, you know, because a lot of it is pagan. And you got to remember, the pharaohs fought, you know, the believers of Allah, which happened to be Moses, right? And obviously Moses is also a very regarded figure in Islam. So it just seems that the Egypt has more of an Islamic identity than they do with, let's say, a pagan identity of you know, of the old pharaohs back in the days. unlike the Indians, obviously they really embrace a lot of their pagan roots that dates back to Hinduism and Buddhism, but not so much Egypt, because Egypt is so Islamized that it's not really widely considered by the society, but they still use it as a tool of tourism, if that makes any sense.
Turn around when it is safe to do so. In 200 yards, turn left. Turn left. In 200 yards, turn right. Turn right. In 200 yards, turn right. Turn right. Turn right. You have arrived at your destination.
Are there many Americans in Egypt? Yes. Yes, there are. Right now, probably not, bro. Probably not. Probably not. Because of what's going on. But prior to that, yes, man. It's big. You know what? I would say British and French are probably more of a dominant tourist group there than Americans, right? Maybe because it's too far for Americans, or maybe, as you know, Americans are not notoriously, well traveled as that of the Europeans. Obviously, the Europeans are far more well traveled than than Americans, because they just have this access to that part of the world, a lot easier than we do. Whereas if we had to travel there, the logistics of getting there just seems a lot more tedious than that of a European that has already automatic visas that allows them to go in and out of the Middle East, go in and out of other European Union states and things of that nature. But yeah. Yeah, not much Americans, unless of course you work in the U.S. State Department, the U.S. Embassy, and yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's probably the more of the dominant American group. There are are people that work in the State Department, in the embassies. Probably people that are in the CIA. He says, "How's the economy?" The economy is built on tourism, right? Because of Egypt's notorious history of the pharaohs and things of that nature, right? But nowadays, I think because of the economic strife that's going on right now, they probably suffered a little bit because of that. Hence why Turkey al-Sheikh came into making a partnership with Egypt, sort of putting them on game on combat sports, right? Because Egypt is also very notorious for wrestling. So they're trying to build kind of like an MMA, Egypt, UFC style PI center there. So they're trying to build it through sports. Obviously, there's a lot of Egyptians that play soccer as well. A cousin of mine, Habib Shabana, he played for several European teams. So, and many other Egyptian, players as well. Obviously, like Mohamed Salah, who plays for Liverpool. He says, crime. Are they allowed to have guns? Or is it like a liberal BS? Oh, yeah, they're allowed to have guns, but it's not a violent place, man. Like it's not like gangs or, mafia or anything like that. It's actually quite peaceful. The only violence that you would probably see is, Al-Qaeda forces fighting, the government. And they have that sort of under control because, bro, let me tell you, they torture the living hell out of, Al-Qaeda prisoners and Muslim Brotherhood factions in Egypt. So yeah, they're pretty serious about that over there. Yeah, man, guns are such a big deal over there that every time there's a wedding going on, or if there's, let's say, a graduation celebration, they pop it off in the air, like for celebration. As you know, that's an Arab tradition. They pop guns in the air for, for celebrations of that magnitude. Do people hunt over there? Yes, yes. There's a big hunting culture there as well. Yeah. They actually hunt rabbits as well, right? Rabbits is actually halal to eat. Squirrels are actually halal to eat, but it's not my thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not much of a rabbit eater. Camels as well. They also eat camels as well. Armin Sarukian. You've seen Armin Sarukian when he fought up in Qatar. He had some camel with Kamzat. No, I don't think Kamzat ate it, but yeah, Armin definitely tried some camel meat in Qatar during his fight with Dan Hooker back in November, if you remember. Dude, when they eat the brains out of the head, is that what he ate? That's the part that he ate out of, was the brains? Dude. Dude, Armin is a savage, bro. Armin is a freaking savage, bro. Straight savage. He went for the head. He went for the head. That's probably why he headbutted, what's his name? Dan Hooker. I'm pretty sure, and eyeballs too. Man, yeah, man. No, thank you. No, thank you. I like my regular meat and potatoes and rice and vegetables. He can have that. He can have that. Bro, Kamzat didn't even eat it, bro. That's how much of a savage Armin is. He says, no, brother, thank you. Thank you very much, brother. Not for me. Dude, man, yeah, eating camels, though, man. Yeah, not my thing, man. I'm sure it's a lot of protein. Alistair Overeem eats horse meat. You know what I mean? Yeah, not my thing either, but, you've seen how it does for him. He said he must have grown up eating it because it looked like he loved it. I don't think so, bro. This is not a thing that Armenians eat. You know, and when he was living in Los Angeles, you know, I definitely know for a fact he can't find no camel meat around, you know, to eat like that. So I don't think it was, you know, really his cultural disposition to eat something like that. I just think Armin is just, you know, a crazy guy, bro. You know what I mean? That just likes to try crazy things. You know what do you think? Like, you think that this is something that he's done before? It was definitely something he's done before. The way that he ate the brain out of the skull was like he'd done it many times. He had flawless technique. Yo, did you see the video of him putting Nina Drama in a triangle choke, and the husband was you know, filming it? Like, how cringe is that? Like, man, how much of a cuck is you know, Nina Drama's husband, bro? Bro, man, these fools, bro. These MMA media people, bro, I swear. You know, at least the schmo doesn't put Helen Yee into stuff like that, you know? Hey, Fool, rewind back from the very beginning. I literally just talked about the whole entire fight night from the very beginning. All right, well, I think that concludes that anyway. See yas in the next one.